A stray German shepherd walked into a fire station. What firefighters did next was incredible. The evening sun cast long shadows across the quiet streets of Millfield as Captain Ryan Carter stepped out of the fire station, his shift finally over. He inhaled deeply, savoring the crisp autumn air, a welcome respite from the smoke and heat that often filled his lungs. As he turned to head home, a movement caught his eye. A German shepherd, its coat matted and dirty, limped towards the station. Ryan paused, watching as the dog approached, its head hung low, exhaustion evident in every step. "Hey there, buddy," Ryan called softly, crouching down to the dog's level. "Where did you come from?" The dog raised its head, warm brown eyes meeting Ryan's gaze. In that moment, Ryan saw something in those eyes, a glimmer of hope, a plea for help. Without hesitation, he reached out, gently stroking the dog's head. "Let's get you inside, big guy. We'll figure this out together." Inside the station, the firefighters gathered around, curious about their unexpected visitor. Some eyed the dog warily, while others cooed and fussed over him. "We can't keep a stray here, Cap," Lieutenant Mike Thompson said, folding his arms across his chest. "It's against regulations." Ryan nodded, understanding Mike's concern. "I know, but we can't just turn him away. He needs our help." As the firefighters debated, the dog lay down, his head resting on his paws. Ryan noticed the scars that marred his coat, the ribs that protruded beneath his skin. This was a dog who had seen hardship, who had fought to survive. "I'll take responsibility for him," Ryan decided. "We'll get him checked out by a vet, and then we'll figure out what to do next." The firefighters exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement, others shaking their heads. But no one argued with their captain. If Ryan Carter said they were going to help this dog, then that's what they would do. News of the stray spread quickly through Millfield, and it wasn't long before Councilman Victor Hayes caught wind of the situation. He saw it as an opportunity, a chance to further his agenda of cutting the fire department's funding. If they have time to take in strays, he told his assistant, then clearly they don't need the resources they've been allocated. Hayes made his way to the fire station, ready to confront Ryan and his team. He found them in the break room, the dog lying at Ryan's feet. "Captain Carter," Hayes said, his voice dripping with disdain. "I see you've taken in a new recruit." Ryan stood, meeting Hayes' gaze. "Councilman Hayes, this dog needed our help. We couldn't just turn him away." Hayes scoffed. "Your job is to protect this community, not run a shelter for strays. If you can't focus on your duties, perhaps we need to reevaluate your funding." The firefighters bristled at Hayes' words, but Ryan remained calm. "We are focused on our duties, Councilman. But part of protecting this community means showing compassion, even to those who can't speak for themselves." Hayes narrowed his eyes, but before he could respond, the alarm sounded, a fire at a local warehouse. The firefighters sprang into action, rushing to their trucks. Ryan turned to the dog, who had risen to his feet, alert and ready. "Stay here, buddy. We'll be back soon." As the trucks roared out of the station, Hayes watched them go, a plan forming in his mind. He would use this stray to bring down the fire department, one way or another. The warehouse fire was a brutal one, flames leaping from the windows, smoke billowing into the sky. The firefighters battled for hours, finally extinguishing the blaze as the sun began to rise. Exhausted and soot-stained, they returned to the station, eager for a moment's rest. But as they climbed down from their trucks, they were greeted by an unexpected sight. The dog, who had been left behind, was pacing in front of the station, whining and barking frantically. As soon as he saw Ryan, he bounded over, circling around him, then running back to the station door. "What's gotten into him?" Mike asked, watching the dog's frantic behavior. Ryan frowned, a sense of unease settling in his gut. "I don't know, but something's not right." He followed the dog inside, the other firefighters close behind. The dog led them to the kitchen, where they found a small fire smoldering on the stove, forgotten in the rush to get to the warehouse. Ryan quickly extinguished the flames, then turned to the dog, who sat watching him, tail wagging slightly. "Good boy," he said softly, reaching out to pet the dog's head. "You might have just saved our station." The firefighters exchanged glances, realization dawning. This dog, this stray they had taken in, had an uncanny sense for danger. He had known something was wrong, even when they hadn't. "Looks like we've got ourselves a firehouse dog," Mike said, a grin spreading across his face. "What should we call him?" Ryan looked at the dog, at the soot that now smudged his coat, and smiled. "Ash. His name is Ash." As word of Ash's heroics spread, the community rallied around the fire station's newest member. Children drew pictures of the brave dog, while local businesses dropped off food and supplies. But Councilman Hayes was not swayed. He saw Ash as a threat to his plans, a symbol of the very thing he was trying to destroy. He began a campaign against the fire department, arguing that their resources were being wasted on a stray dog. "We pay taxes for these firefighters to protect us," he told anyone who would listen, "not to run a petting zoo." His words found footing with some, those who had always been skeptical of the fire department's budget. But for most, Ash was a hero, a reminder of the good that could be found in even the darkest of times. Ryan and his team did their best to ignore Hayes and his rhetoric. They had work to do, lives to save. And Ash was quickly becoming an integral part of that work. He accompanied them on calls, riding in the truck with Ryan, his keen senses alert for any sign of danger. More than once, he alerted them to hazards they might have otherwise missed: a gas leak in an apartment building, a smoldering fire in a trash can. But it was on a sunny Tuesday afternoon that Ash truly proved his worth. The call came in just after lunch, a fire at an elementary school. Ryan and his team raced to the scene, sirens blaring, hearts pounding. They arrived to find the school engulfed in flames, teachers and students huddled on the lawn, faces streaked with tears and soot. The principal ran to meet them, her voice trembling as she spoke. "There are still children inside," she said. "We can't find them." Ryan turned to his team, ready to give orders, but Ash was already moving. He leaped from the truck, racing towards the burning building, ignoring the shouts and calls for him to come back. "Ash, no!" Ryan yelled, but it was too late. The dog had disappeared into the flames. For a moment, there was only the crackling of the fire, the pounding of Ryan's heart. Then, through the smoke, he saw a shape emerge, Ash, his jaws clamped around the jacket of a small boy, dragging him to safety. The firefighters sprang into action, rushing to meet the dog, scooping up the child and carrying him to the waiting ambulance. But Ash wasn't done. He turned and ran back into the building, again and again, each time emerging with another child, until all were accounted for. As the last child was carried to safety, Ash collapsed, his fur singed, his breathing labored. Ryan rushed to his side, cradling the dog's head in his lap. "You did good, boy," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "You did so good." Ash's bravery at the school fire made headlines across the state. He was hailed as a hero, a symbol of the courage and selflessness that defined the fire department. But his injuries were severe, and for a time, it was touch and go. Ryan refused to leave his side, sleeping on the floor of the vet's office, holding vigil over his friend. The community rallied once more, donating money for Ash's medical bills, sending cards and well wishes. Even Councilman Hayes was silent, unwilling to speak out against the dog who had saved so many lives. Slowly, day by day, Ash began to recover. His burns healed, his strength returned. And as he stood on shaky legs for the first time, Ryan was there, tears in his eyes, pride in his heart. "Welcome back, buddy," he whispered, burying his face in Ash's fur. "We missed you." Ash's return to the fire station was a celebration, a moment of joy in a time of uncertainty. But it was short-lived, for even as the dog settled back into his role, tensions in the community were rising. Councilman Hayes, seeing his influence waning, had begun to lash out, his attacks on the fire department growing more vicious by the day. He accused them of negligence, of wasting resources, of putting the lives of animals above those of humans. His words found a foothold among some, those who had always resented the firefighters, who saw them as a drain on the town's coffers. Protests began to spring up, angry voices calling for Ryan and his team to be disbanded. But the firefighters refused to be cowed. They continued their work, responding to calls, saving lives. And Ash was always there, a constant presence at Ryan's side, a reminder of the good they did. Even so, Ryan could feel the pressure mounting. He knew that something had to give, that they couldn't go on like this forever. But he didn't know what to do, how to fight back against the tide of anger and resentment that seemed to be washing over the town. It was Ash who showed him the way. The call came in late one night, a report of a fire at a local community center. Ryan and his team raced to the scene, Ash riding shotgun as always. They arrived to find the building fully engulfed, flames leaping from every window. But as they began to battle the blaze, Ryan heard a sound that made his blood run cold, the screams of children trapped inside. He turned to his team, ready to send them in, but before he could speak, Ash was moving. The dog leaped from the truck, racing towards the building, ignoring the shouts and calls for him to come back. "Ash, no!" Ryan yelled, but it was too late. The dog had disappeared into the flames. For a moment, there was only the crackling of the fire, the pounding of Ryan's heart. Then, through the smoke, he saw a shape emerge, Ash, leading a group of children to safety, their faces streaked with tears and soot. The firefighters sprang into action, rushing to meet the dog, scooping up the children and carrying them to safety. But Ash wasn't done. He turned and ran back into the building, again and again, each time emerging with another child, until all were accounted for. As the last child was carried to safety, Ash collapsed, his fur singed, his breathing labored. Ryan rushed to his side, cradling the dog's head in his lap. "You did it, boy," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "You saved them all." The story of Ash's heroics at the community center spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of support for the fire department. People who had once protested now rallied behind Ryan and his team, hailing them as heroes, as guardians of the community. Councilman Hayes tried to spin the story, to paint Ash as a liability, a danger to the public. But his words fell on deaf ears. The people had seen the truth, had witnessed the bravery and selflessness of the firefighters and their loyal dog. In the days that followed, donations poured in, offers of support and gratitude. The fire department, once on the brink of ruin, was now the pride of the town, a symbol of all that was good and right in the world. And at the center of it all was Ash, the stray who had wandered into their lives and changed everything. He became a symbol of hope, of resilience, of the power of second chances. For Ryan and his team, Ash was more than just a dog. He was a member of their family, a brother in arms. And as they looked to the future, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, side by side, always. Months passed, and life in Millfield settled into a new normal. The fire department, bolstered by the support of the community, thrived, their ranks swelling with new recruits eager to serve alongside the heroes of the town. Ash became a fixture at the station, a constant presence at Ryan's side. He attended training sessions, went on calls, and became a beloved mascot for the department. But even as the town healed, Ryan knew that there was still work to be done. He saw the scars that lingered, the fear and uncertainty that haunted some of his firefighters. He knew that they needed more than just physical support, they needed emotional support as well. And so, with Ash by his side, Ryan began a new initiative, a program designed to help his team cope with the trauma they faced on the job. He brought in counselors, organized support groups, and encouraged his firefighters to talk openly about their experiences. It wasn't easy, and there were setbacks along the way. But slowly, day by day, Ryan saw his team begin to heal, to find strength in each other and in themselves. And through it all, Ash was there, a constant reminder of the resilience and courage that defined them all. As the anniversary of Ash's arrival approached, Ryan found himself reflecting on the journey they had taken together. He thought back to that first night, when he had found the dog limping towards the station, broken and alone. He thought of the challenges they had faced, the obstacles they had overcome. He thought of the lives they had saved, the difference they had made. And he knew, with a certainty that filled his heart, that taking Ash in had been the best decision he had ever made. To mark the occasion, Ryan organized a celebration, a gathering of the entire town to honor the dog who had changed their lives. There were speeches and toasts, laughter and tears. And at the center of it all was Ash, his tail wagging, his eyes bright with joy. As the celebration wound down, Ryan found himself alone with Ash, the two of them sitting on the steps of the fire station, watching the sun set over the town they both loved. "You know, buddy," Ryan said softly, scratching Ash behind the ears, "I never believed in fate before I met you. But now, I can't help but think that you were meant to find us, that we were meant to find each other." Ash leaned into Ryan's touch, his eyes closing in contentment. And in that moment, Ryan knew that he was right. They had been brought together for a reason, to help each other, to make the world a better place. And as long as they had each other, Ryan knew that there was nothing they couldn't face, no challenge they couldn't overcome. Years passed, and Millfield prospered, the fire department at the heart of its success. Ryan and his team continued to serve, to protect, to make a difference in the lives of those they swore to defend. Ash grew old, his muzzle graying, his steps slowing. But his spirit never wavered, his loyalty never faltered. He remained a constant presence at the station, a symbol of all that they had achieved together. And then, one quiet summer evening, Ash passed away, his breath stilling, his heart giving out. He died as he had lived, surrounded by those he loved, those who loved him. The town grieved, a collective outpouring of sorrow and gratitude. They held a memorial service, a celebration of the life that had touched so many. And as Ryan stood before the gathered crowd, tears streaming down his face, he knew that Ash would never be forgotten, that his legacy would live on in the hearts of all who had known him. In the days that followed, as the town began to heal, Ryan found himself reflecting on the lessons Ash had taught him, lessons of courage and compassion, of resilience and hope. And he knew that as long as he held those lessons close, as long as he continued to serve with the same selflessness and dedication that Ash had embodied, then the dog spirit would live on, a guiding light in the darkest of times. Years turned to decades, and Millfield changed, as all things do. New buildings rose, old ones fell. Faces came and went, lives began and ended. But through it all, the fire department endured, a constant presence in the heart of the town. And always, always, there was the memory of Ash, the stray who had wandered into their lives and changed everything. Ryan grew old, his hair graying, his steps slowing. But he never forgot the lessons Ash had taught him, never wavered in his commitment to serve, to protect, to make a difference. And then, one quiet autumn evening, as the sun set over the town he loved, Ryan Carter passed away, his breath stilling, his heart giving out. He died as he had lived, surrounded by those he loved, those who loved him. The town grieved, a collective outpouring of sorrow and gratitude. They held a funeral service, a celebration of the life that had touched so many. And as the gathered crowd shared stories and memories, a common thread emerged, the story of a man and his dog, of the bond that had changed everything. They spoke of Ryan's courage, his compassion, his unwavering dedication to the people he served. They spoke of Ash's loyalty, his bravery, his uncanny ability to sense when he was needed most. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, as the last rays of light faded from the sky, a young firefighter stepped forward, a German shepherd puppy cradled in his arms. "This is Ember," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Named after the spark of hope that Ryan and Ash brought to us all. May their legacy live on, in him and in all of us." As the crowd dispersed, as the town began to heal, the young firefighter looked down at the puppy in his arms, at the future he represented. And he knew that as long as they remembered the lessons of the past, as long as they held fast to the values that Ryan and Ash had embodied, then Millfield would endure, a beacon of hope in a world that so often seemed filled with darkness. For in the end, that was the true legacy of the stray who had wandered into their lives, not just the lives he had saved, but the hearts he had touched, the spirits he had lifted. A legacy of love, of courage, of hope. A legacy that would endure, as long as there were those willing to carry it forward, to light the way for those who followed. And so, As the young firefighter turned to walk back to the station, Ember nestled in his arms. He knew that he was not alone, that he would never be alone. For he carried with him the spirit of all those who had come before, of all those who had given their lives in service to others. And with that knowledge, that certainty, he knew that he could face whatever challenges lay ahead, that he could make a difference in the world, one day at a time. Just as Ryan and Ash had done all those years ago. As Ember grew, he proved to be every bit as remarkable as his predecessor. He had an uncanny ability to sense danger, to know when he was needed most. And like Ash before him, he quickly became a beloved member of the fire department, a symbol of hope and resilience for all who knew him. Under the guidance of the young firefighter who had taken him in, whom everyone now called Captain Jack, Ember trained tirelessly, honing his skills and instincts. He learned to navigate through smoke and flames, to find those who were trapped and guide them to safety. And when the time came, when the alarm sounded and the trucks roared out of the station, Ember was always there, ready to serve, ready to make a difference. Years passed, and Ember's legend grew. He saved countless lives, earned countless accolades. But through it all, he remained humble, dedicated, always putting the needs of others before his own. And as the town changed and grew, as new challenges arose and old ones faded, the fire department remained a constant, a beacon of hope in an ever-shifting world. For the firefighters who served there, Ember was more than just a dog. He was a partner, a friend, a member of the family. And they knew that as long as he was by their side, they could face anything, overcome anything. But even the brightest flames must eventually flicker and fade. And as Ember grew old, as his steps began to slow and his muzzle turned gray, the department knew that his time was drawing to a close. They prepared for the inevitable, said their goodbyes, and shared their memories. And when the time came, when Ember drew his last breath and closed his eyes for the final time, they grieved, a profound sense of loss washing over them all. But even in their sorrow, they knew that Ember's legacy would endure, that the lessons he had taught and the lives he had touched would continue to ripple outward, spreading hope and inspiration wherever they went. For that was the true power of the bond between firefighter and dog, the true magic of the brotherhood they shared. A bond that could never be broken, a love that would never die. Decades passed, and the world changed in ways both big and small. Technologies advanced, societies evolved, and the town of Millfield grew and prospered, a thriving community built on a foundation of courage, compassion, and hope. And at the heart of it all, as it had always been, was the fire department, a beacon of light in a world that sometimes seemed filled with darkness. Generation after generation of firefighters came and went, each leaving their mark, each adding their own chapter to the long and storied history of the department. And always, there were the dogs, the brave and loyal companions who served alongside them, who embodied the very best of what it meant to be a firefighter. There was Scout, the tireless tracker who could find anyone, anywhere. There was Blaze, the fearless warrior who charged headlong into the flames. There was Rogue, the gentle soul who could comfort even the most traumatized victim. Each was unique, each was special in their own way. But all were united by a common bond, a shared legacy of service and sacrifice. And as the years turned to decades and the decades to centuries, that legacy endured, passed down from one generation to the next like a precious flame. For the firefighters of Millfield, it was more than just a job, more than just a calling. It was a way of life, a sacred trust handed down to them by all those who had come before. And so, as the world changed and evolved around them, as empires rose and fell and new wonders emerged with each passing year, the firefighters of Millfield remained a constant, a reminder of what it meant to be a hero, to put the needs of others before their own. They faced challenges both old and new, battled blazes and disasters of every kind. But always, they emerged stronger, more united, more determined than ever to make a difference in the world. And at their side, as it had always been, was a dog, a loyal companion and trusted partner, a living embodiment of the courage and compassion that defined them all. For in the end, that was what it meant to be a firefighter, to be a part of something greater than oneself. It meant standing tall in the face of adversity, being a light in the darkness, and never, ever giving up. It meant holding fast to the values that had guided them for generations, the values of service, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to the greater good. And as long as there were firefighters in Millfield, as long as there were brave men and women willing to answer the call, to rush headlong into the flames, those values would endure, a lasting testament to the power of the human spirit. For in a world that was always changing, in a future that was always uncertain, there was one thing that would never change, one constant that would always remain. The bond between firefighter and dog, the love that could overcome any obstacle, face any challenge, and emerge stronger on the other side. A love that would endure, now and forever, a shining beacon of hope in a world that so often seemed filled with darkness. And so, as the fire trucks roared out into the night, as the brave men and women of the Millfield Fire Department raced to answer the call, they did so with the knowledge that they were part of something greater, something that would always endure. They were the guardians of the flame, the protectors of the innocent, the heroes who would always answer the call. And with their loyal dogs by their side, they would continue to serve, to sacrifice, to make a difference in the world, one day at a time. For as long as there were firefighters in Millfield, as long as there were brave souls willing to stand tall in the face of adversity, the legacy of Ryan Carter and Ash, of Jack and Ember and all those who had come after, would endure, a tribute to the unbreakable bond between man and dog, and to the enduring power of love, courage, and hope. Years turned into decades, and decades into centuries. The world changed in ways that no one could have ever imagined, but the legacy of the Millfield Fire Department remained a constant, a beacon of hope and resilience in an ever-shifting landscape. As technology advanced and society evolved, the role of the firefighter changed too. They faced new challenges, new dangers, but their core values remained the same. They were the guardians of the community, the ones who ran towards the flames when everyone else ran away. And always, there were the dogs, the loyal companions who served alongside them. They were the descendants of Ash and Ember, of Scout and Blaze and Rogue, each one a living embodiment of the courage and compassion that defined the department. As the centuries passed, the stories of those early heroes became the stuff of legend, passed down from one generation to the next. Children grew up hearing about the brave firefighters and their loyal dogs, dreaming of the day when they too could join their ranks. And so it was that the legacy endured, a chain unbroken, a testament to the power of the bond between human and animal. Until one day, a young girl named Sarah found herself at the steps of the Millfield Fire Department, a stray dog by her side. She had heard the stories, of course, had grown up dreaming of being a part of something greater than herself. And as she looked up at the grand old building, with its gleaming trucks and its proud firefighters, she knew that she had found her calling. She joined the department, and the dog joined with her, just as so many had done before them. They trained together, served together, forging a bond that could never be broken. And as the years passed, as Sarah rose through the ranks and the dog grew old by her side, they became a part of the great tapestry of the Millfield Fire Department, another thread woven into the fabric of its history. Until one day, when Sarah herself was old and gray, she looked back on her life and knew that she had been a part of something truly special. She had faced challenges and dangers, had seen things that most people could never imagine. But through it all, she had never been alone. She had always had her loyal dog by her side, a partner and a friend, a reminder of what it meant to be a part of something greater than oneself. And as she sat there, in the old firehouse that had been her home for so many years, Sarah knew that the legacy would continue, that there would always be those who were willing to serve, to sacrifice, to be a light in the darkness. For the bond between firefighter and dog was a bond that could never be broken, a love that would endure as long as there were those who believed in it. And so, as the sun set on the old firehouse, as the trucks roared out into the night to answer another call, Sarah closed her eyes and smiled, knowing that the legacy of the Millfield Fire Department would endure, now and forever. It was a legacy of courage and compassion, of service and sacrifice, and of the unbreakable bond between human and animal. A legacy that would continue to inspire and uplift, to remind the world of what it meant to be a hero, to be a part of something greater than oneself. And as long as there were those who believed in that legacy, as long as there were those who were willing to serve and to sacrifice, the spirit of the Millfield Fire Department would endure, a shining beacon of hope in a world that so often seemed filled with darkness. For in the end, that was what it meant to be a firefighter, to be a part of the great tapestry of history, to be a guardian of the flame and a protector of the innocent. It was a calling that demanded everything, but gave back so much more, a life of purpose and meaning, of love and loyalty, and of the knowledge that one had made a difference in the world, no matter how small. And so, as Sarah drifted off to sleep, her loyal dog by her side, she knew that she had lived a life well lived, a life that had mattered. And somewhere, in the great beyond, the spirits of all those who had come before her looked down and smiled, knowing that the legacy they had started so long ago would continue, now and forever, a testament to the enduring power of the bond between firefighter and dog.